Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I will be talking all about primers. I want to talk about the best primers for my skin. I'm 40 plus, I have oily skin, very recently oily skin, so I'll share. And I also want to talk about what works best for me. So if you're interested, let's go ahead and get into it. Hi guys, welcome back. So thank you so much for clicking on this video. We are in it. We are having a lot of fun. We're talking about makeup every single day in the month of December. And today I wanted to talk about primers. Do they even work? Why do we use them? Why do some primers not work with some foundations? Let's talk about all of it. And I will also share my top primers that I really enjoy. Most of the time when you ask somebody that's not a makeup enthusiast like we all are here, what primer they use or if they use one, a lot of the times they'll say, I don't know, like I don't use a primer, or what is a primer? And it's because it's one of those things that as much as we hear about it and as much as we know about primers, it's not a mainstream beauty product per se. That's my take, I don't know. But I want to talk about it because I have found that I really enjoy having that step in my makeup routine, but let's see what works and what doesn't. Now, if you're new here, I hope that you will subscribe. We talk about luxury beauty, indie beauty, drugstore beauty if it's really good. And we do get readies with me. We talk about new makeup releases. It's a good time. So if you don't have somebody in your life that loves talking about makeup the way that you do, then come join us. It's a lot of fun. If you're not new, I hope you're enjoying your time here as we're uploading. Welcome back. The last thing I will say is there's links for all of the products that I'll be talking about today. Some are affiliates, so they do pay me a small commission if you use them. Free to use, but they do support my channel, so thank you so much for doing that. Also, I will have my social media link down below. Come check us out. It's fun. I post daily looks for the most part. We have a lot of fun over there. So let's go ahead and start talking about what primers are, do they work, do they not, and what my favorites are. Okay, so primer. Primer is one of those products that, again, like most people don't use them. I would say most people that are not makeup enthusiasts, like a lot of us here that are watching this type of content. But what I found is that I really, really like primer. Now, I will tell you, I just moved to Dallas about 2.5 years ago. And when I was in California, it's a drier climate there. And I didn't even know what primer was. But randomly one day, one of my friends that I worked with, her cousin or a good friend of hers worked at Smashbox in product development. And he would always come home with like a ton of Smashbox makeup. It was all kinds of makeup. And one day she brings a little goodie bag because she knows that I'm, I love makeup, whatever. And she says, hey, try this out. And she handed me this huge bottle. I mean, I've never even seen this bottle now that I'm into makeup. It was this huge bottle with a little pump of the Smashbox primer, the photo finish primer. And I said, oh yeah, sure. What is it for? How do I use it? She told me how to use it and I started using primer. Now that was a silicone based primer and I didn't have oily skin in California. It was very much normal and I liked it. I felt like immediately my foundation looked a little bit better. After that point, I never really stopped using primer, but I never explored. Like I never tried any other primers. I only stuck to the Smashbox because I knew that it worked for me. So do they work? Do they not? I don't know, guys. I will tell you that I have oily skin now. And as I've transitioned to oily skin by moving to a more humid climate, my pores got really large in this area and I'm struggling with them. And I never did before. So I think it has to do with the excess sebum production. And I've tried all kinds of primers and, from like spackle primers that will completely reduce and fill in my pores to mattifying primers, blurring primers, all kinds of stuff, silicone, water-based, all of it. And what I have found is if I were to critique it like a lot, I would say like I think that it extends the wear a little bit of your foundation, but then again I am using like setting spray, so who knows. But I actually stopped looking for the perfect pore filling primer. I tend to think that those just don't exist or don't work very well, except for one that I will share today. And I just kind of figured like if it blurs or it just kind of like makes my base look refined or smoother, then I like it. I'm not really going to find for a miracle treatment for these craters of pores that I've got. And what I started to notice is that if I was very intentional about the way that I exfoliated my skin, meaning do not over exfoliate, but definitely exfoliate, and if I took better care of my skin, the pores were somewhat reduced, okay? The one product that I can think in your skincare that is an absolute must for pore reduction is going to be niacinamide. Niacinamide really does help shrink the size of pores, but if you're not exfoliating regularly, the pores will fill with all kinds of junk and sebum and things that enlarge or like stretch out your pores. So definitely focus on the skincare. And I am planning on filming my skincare routine so that you guys can see what that's like. Aside from that, the primer, you know, it's going to make it look smoother and prettier. But as far as like oil reduction, I don't know. I don't feel like I have found one that makes me less oily. Maybe initially, but not in general. I explain all of that because when I start sharing my primers, you're going to be like, what? I thought you said you had oily skin. And I do. I have very oily skin everywhere during the spring and summer. As it gets a little cooler, like right about now, my skin is calming down a little bit in oil production. I'm drier for sure around the perimeter, and my T-zone is not as oily as it normally is during the year. So I wanted to share some that I have tried that I like. I'm not going to claim like miracle primers or anything like that, except for one. I'll tell you why I like each primer and how it reacts to my skin throughout the year. The first one that I want to share is the YSL Touche Éclat Blurring Primer, and it does just that. It is a silicone-based primer, and it's going to create like a very slicky, slippy base. It doesn't make your face like sticky or tacky, which a lot of people say that like if you have a tacky base, it will make the foundation adhere to your skin. I feel that those primers actually make my pores kind of poke out a little more, like just be more visible. But it's a blurring primer. It feels like silk, honestly, when you put it on. And do you see how pretty it is? It's got like little specks of gold in there. But honestly, it's just a blurring primer. It looks like this, a very clear gel, and you put it on. And yeah, sure. I mean, it looks a little bit mattified. I don't know if you can tell there. Probably not. I just put it there. It looks a little mattified initially, but that's because it's silicone based. So that's really the layer that we're seeing. But I really like the way that most foundations sit on top of it. It's one of those that like, is it absolutely necessary when you try silicone based primers like this? Maybe not, but it looks really nice initially. Now throughout the day, it is going to slowly control oil less and less. I have really long days, so you know, oils will poke through no matter what, but I've really enjoyed it because of how smooth it makes my foundations look. I'm almost done with it, but yeah, I think this one's a really, really nice one. And again, this is a silicone base, very similar to the texture that we would have in the Smashbox Photo Finish Primer. So this is the first primer that I wanted to share with you guys that I know will work with oily skin types. Listen, if you're very oily like me, you're still gonna have to blot. I mean, that's just a part of life for me. I have to blot once or twice throughout my 12 to 15 hour day. And I do go in and I set again with my powder. That's just how it is with oily skin. But again, the foundation will look really blurred, really smooth most of the day. The next one I actually found, was it at the beginning of this year? I think so. It's the Rare Beauty Pore Diffusing Primer. This one is really, really nice. It's in the mini size, and as you can see, I've actually finished it. We're all the way at the top. There's only like 1 or 2 pumps left of this. Very budget friendly, drugstore prices, honestly, Rare Beauty as a whole. I don't remember how much I paid for this, maybe 10 or 12 bucks, but it lasted me quite a few months because I was rotating with other primers, and I really like it. I like that although it says it's pore diffusing, this one is also silicone-y, but it's thicker. It's thicker than the YSL Touche Éclat. It really, you can't tell, but it is thicker of a consistency. And then when it dries down to like a hydrating feel. Like it almost feels a little wet right now. But it does a really nice job of, again, blurring. Now it says pore minimizing, pore diffusing primer. Maybe, I mean, diffusing. I don't see anything extra in the formula that would like diffuse the light away. So again, it's not going to dry down to like a mattifying primer type of feel, but it feels hydrating. It like initially goes on like silicone and then it just kind of dries down, and it's not tacky at all, but it's not as smooth as the YSL. So maybe a little tack to it so that the foundation can adhere. But I really, really enjoyed it. I did feel like my makeup looked smooth and natural, kind of helped the foundation with like a demi matte finish. I mean, I thought it was really, really good, not only for the price point, and I don't pay attention to price point. Actually, you guys, like when people say like, oh, especially for the drugstore, I'm like, what does that mean? Because if you want to buy a good product or recommend a good product, it has to be good, period. It can't just be good because it's only $10. Why would I spend my $10 there? I'll just go buy a $20 primer that actually works, right? And so I don't really I don't let drugstore off the hook. Regardless of the price, they have to be good, or else why would I even spend that money if it's not as good as something that I would recommend? Just saying. The next primer that I discovered this year, oh, there's two more that I discovered this year. The next one was the Milk Makeup. This one is the same as this one. I mean, I had never sat there and compared the two. This is still going to feel a little bit more like a gel cream. It's not going to feel as silicone-y, but it dries down the exact same way that the one that we just talked about does. So it's like a cream. It's like a cream, and you put it on and it feels like a cream. It feels like a gel cream, and it feels light and fresh. And then what I do is I'll put my primer on and I'll just let it sit there, and I go and I do my eye makeup. By the time I come back to do my face makeup, I can start to see how it's starting to mattify all the areas that I put the primer on. Now, during the summer, I put it everywhere because I'm so oily. During the winter time, or like that transition period, I only put it on my T-zone, and I can start to see clearly where I placed the primer and where I didn't, because it did mattify that area down. That being said, it helps with oil production just a tiny bit, but not like a crazy mattifier at all. I think it's okay. I think it's good. It looks really nice on the skin, but it's not going to be like the best mattifying primer. And it's not that I'm like talking down about these primers. It's just that I want to be very realistic. When you see reviews like, oh my God, it's the best thing ever, no oil broke through in 12 hours. Bull. I don't think so. Then you clearly don't have oily skin like I do, because any primer that I use, the oil will push through. That's just the way that my skin is. And if you have oily skin, you kind of get what I'm saying. In general, I really like it. I think this was like $18. And one thing that I like that Milk Makeup does is it's half the size of product, like half the product for half the price. You know how sometimes when you buy minis, it's like a few bucks more than like splitting the cost 50-50. Milk Makeup, if they give you half the product, they're going to charge you exactly half the price. So this one, for instance, is 0.68 fluid ounces, 20 mLs. It's 18 bucks. The full size is double this size and $36. So I really like it. I do think that when I run out, I'm going to buy another one because I do enjoy it. And I'll probably buy another mini because, again, I have a lot of primers that I use. You know, there's a way to pair primers to foundations. Like if you have an oil-based foundation, you should be pairing it with a silicone primer. If you have a water-based foundation, you should be pairing that with another water-based primer. Now that gets a little too technical, too in-depth for me. I kind of just like to experiment and then kind of see what works and what doesn't. But I think that's what they've told me. Let me know if I got that wrong. But I believe that if you have an oil-based foundation, you're going to get a silicone-based primer. Those should work lovely together. Water-based foundation with water-based primer is what should work. The next one is a longtime favorite. I actually bought this one when the new Gucci foundation launched, I think in 2020, at the end of 2020, but I'm talking about the Gucci one. And I didn't even know or wasn't thinking about it when I bought it, but when I bought it, this is not a mattifying primer. It's a silk priming serum. And oh my gosh, you guys, like, I think that if you had dry skin, you would love this. It's like a gel cream, but it goes on like a cream. Like a total cream. It's so nice and it's hydrating, and I don't know why I like it so much, but you know how it says silk priming? By the time it like wears in, it does feel like silk on your skin, and it works so lovely with that Gucci foundation. So lovely, lovely, lovely. Now, it's Gucci. It's one of those luxury brands, so it has a very heavy fragrance or perfume scent. It's just the Gucci scent. I mean, their bronzers, their blushes, they all smell the same. So if you're sensitive to that, just keep that in mind. I think of the other primers that I shared, the Milk Makeup, the Rare Beauty, and those don't have a scent. This one, a very slight YSL scent, but it's not as strong as the Gucci. The Gucci is very pungent. Does it go away? I mean, I think eventually it does, I don't notice it because it doesn't bother me. But again, if you don't like the fragrance, you won't like the Gucci. But it's very like, it's very hydrating, and it does kind of have this silk effect on your skin. It works really well with matte foundations, and I don't think it works very well with other types of foundations. So I don't have a lot of mattifying foundations. I actually go for like demi matte or natural finish foundations, and it will work with some, but it's kind of a hit and miss. What I can tell you is with that Gucci foundation that's more mattifying, it works perfectly with that. Because my skin has gotten just a little more oily than when I originally bought the Gucci foundation and the primer, I have ordered the mattifying primer that Gucci just came out with. I think it's new. I hadn't seen it before. And so I'm going to try that one, and I'm going to do a full face of Gucci for you guys. That's coming up. But yeah, this one's really, really nice. And I think that even me with my oily skin, I really, really enjoy it. But if you have dry skin, normal skin, combo skin, you'll really, really like it. If you have combo skin, maybe just kind of keep it in the areas that are a little less oily. But this one, it doesn't fit like an oily skin girl, but I love it, love it. The next one that I love, and it's like a video that's constantly being watched on my channel, because you can kind of see the analytics of what videos people are watching, and for good reason. It's the Nano Blur. Have you ever heard of this? I actually have a video on my channel, and I'll link it, but this is the primer that they use on the Euphoria set. You know that show that came out with Zendaya that kind of blew up, and they talked about how they use the Chantecaille foundation, and then they use the Nano Blur primer. And this is a primer that they can use to prep the skin. It's also a primer that works so nice because even after you've done your makeup, hours later, you know, they have very long hours on set. They take this mattifying or pore blurring primer, and they just kind of tap it on top of the makeup, and it doesn't add any texture. It doesn't make it cakey. It doesn't lift the foundation, and then they don't have the need to powder, because as you powder more and more throughout the day, your foundation can tend to get a little cakey. So this is kind of like their wonder product, their secret on set. So I demo it in the video and I show. So that's the texture of the primer. So it looks very similar to like a cream like, but it is thicker and it's very silicone-y. So I'll show you guys now. I haven't blotted today, and we'll just, let me bring you in. So this is what my skin is looking like, and the lights are gonna, so it takes a minute to sink in, but it starts to mattify and blur, and you're just like, you look unreal, you guys. You look unreal. And there's people that have come back to that video to tell me like, hey, oh my God, I bought it and I love it. Like, this works so nicely. And yeah, it's really, really nice. And it just takes a second. But instead of blotting or adding more powder, you can add this primer and you just look instantly refreshed. Everything looks great, ready to go, and I love it. I did use it like quite a bit in the spring and some in the summer, especially if I'm like, for instance, for work, if I'm going out to do an event, I don't want to be powdering, because in the summer it's like hot and humid and you're sweating, and like you don't want to add more powder to your face because it could look really cakey. And I use this and it's just like, it's really, really nice, you guys. And I don't use a lot. And normally, actually, I don't even use it under my foundation. I'll use it over. I'll just kind of pop it in my purse and I'll take it with me. But it works really, really nice. So I don't know. Let me pull you back out. I don't know if you could tell, obviously, with studio lights and stuff. But it instantly made my skin, my pores are blurred even more so. And it made it look like almost like a nice soft powdery finish. So it's one of those viral products, but I would recommend checking it out. It wasn't that pricey. I think it was like in the $17 to $19 range, but yeah, it's really nice and innovative, and it's one that you can pop on after your makeup. And the last one, the holy grail of primers, in my opinion. I discovered it this year, and I promise you, I don't know, I feel like my life will never be the same. I'm talking about the Hourglass Vanish Airbrush Primer. Again, one that I've told people from the beginning, you can go back to other videos and say like, it's not like the craziest pore minimizing primer, but it does exactly what it says. It makes your skin look airbrushed. airbrushed. It's like a gel, very similar, and I can't show you because it's literally all gone. But it's like a gel and it feels hydrating. So it's almost like, I feel like it's almost like a mixture of these two, the Milk Makeup and the Gucci. And it goes onto your skin and it feels so hydrating and fresh. Your skin feels so great. And it, again, like you can still see my skin and you can still kind of see the pores and everything else. It does blur them, but overall your entire face just makes it look airbrushed. I don't have a lot of texture. I exfoliate quite a bit, so I don't deal with too much texture, but this is the shit, you guys. It's so good. And everybody that I've heard talk about it, they have different types of skin, have loved this primer. But then what is even more impressive is other creators with oily skin like me. One specifically, her name's Stephanie Marie. She's in a more humid climate. She has very oily skin like I do, or did. Now it's a little more combo. And she also loves this primer, and it's good. I mean, it's freaking spendy. I think it's like 56 or 60 bucks, but it is so nice. I literally cannot be without it. I already ordered it. It's on its way, so it's fine. But I love it so much, especially now that it's not that hot outside. I really feel that like if I love the Gucci, that I'm gonna like the mattifying one that's on its way to me. This one, the Hourglass, oh my gosh. And I guess I'm just also so happy because everybody said such great things about the other one. I can't remember what the other Hourglass primer is called, but I hated it. It was so horrible. It enhanced my pores big time. It was the worst primer I've ever tried. And then this one's so beautiful. So I'm really excited. I've recommended this to everybody that asks because it's so nice. Okay, so there you go, you guys. I'm not an ingredient junkie. I'm not going to sit there and talk about, you know, exactly what ingredients are going to go well with what foundation. I would say like do a little bit of research on that. It'll extend the length of your makeup just a little bit more, but more than anything, it will just blur. It will blur. It'll set a nice even canvas so that when you put on the foundation, everything will go on a little smoother, a little nicer. Do you need primer? No. If you feel like you're getting a really nice finish with your foundation and you don't need it, then you don't need it. But I'll show you. I hope that the camera will pick up. So this is the hand without primer. This is the one with. The one with absolutely looks smoother. I'm sure you guys can see that. So, I mean, obviously you're not going to be putting, you know, 7 different primers on your face to achieve this, but it's a little more minimized. It's a little more blurred. Is a little more worth, you know, the $50-$60 price tag sometimes? No, maybe not. But there's some in a better price range that still make the same difference in my opinion. So for me, when I say that I love the Gucci, the YSL, the Hourglass, they're all about the same price point, about the $60 range. I think it's a little bit of both. Like it's giving me what I want, and it also gives you that luxury feel or experience, I guess. But if you want to be more budget conscious, which we should all be, but you know, you have these other really great options. And so again, I'm not promising the world. I'm not promising, you know, that it's going to completely fill in your pores like spackle. No, it won't. Even the ones that claim don't do that. But what I am saying is that for my oily skin, 40 plus, that have some fine lines, a little bit of texture, not a lot, and then pores that I need to blur, these work really well. So leave your comments down below with what your favorite primer is, or even if you don't use primer, let me know. And I would like to know, and I think people get curious when we start reading the comments, like, what are other people doing? We want to know. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Again, talking about stuff that, like, you know, we like to talk about makeup. So that's why it's always fun. So let me know your thoughts down below. Don't forget to like the video and share it with a friend. Subscribe if you haven't. That really helps my channel out, and we have a lot of fun here. And I will see you guys tomorrow. Bye.